What's going on? This is King Cam on Junbei's podcast, and Junbei means message. And today's message is spiritual self-care. And I have a special honored guest, Brother Hanun Kennedy. He's going to talk about just that. Brother Kennedy, where are you from?
Great. I'm originally from California. It's Huno Iletunje Kennedy.
Hey,
just so.
Iletunje. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What do those words mean something? So what does Huno Iletunje mean?
Okay, great. Huno is a title, and that is a title I received when on one of my trips to Africa. It's like, it means in African traditional life, they have a person that's called a Huno, and he or she is both a doctor, but also a psychologist, but also a business counselor. It's integrated African medicine. And so they integrate all aspects of life. And so the specialist who works on the specialty of connecting with both the ancestors, the living, and keeping the harmony and balance in the spirit world is called Huno. Iletunje is the name I received in Benin when I returned home. They had prophesied that someone would return from my family, and the elder, that name means the village has returned, or the earth has been reincarnated, or the village. And so the area where my ancestors came from, much of the village was decimated during the wars between Oyo and Dahomey, which led to a lot of us over here being enslaved.
Okay. So we have your title, Honon, and Iletunje. Iletunje, yeah.
Tunji, yes.
Okay, Tunji, very good. And so you're based in Dallas now? Are you in Dallas?
Yes. My wife and I moved here to Dallas about 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago. My wife's a dentist, and she was accepted to the Baylor College of Dentistry downtown in Dallas, and that's what brought us here.
Wow. Yeah. And you know, we go back a little bit. I was teaching at South Oak Cliff High School, and we were doing some community work at Pan-African Connection, and that's where I met Brother Iletunje, and he was doing some spiritual work there. And so, what is self-care to you? What is that to you? What is that to you?
You know, in the world we live in, life has become very complex. Not that it was even simpler 200 years ago, because you had to deal with certain things in the environment, and life has always been complex. But today, because there's so many new things, if a person, I was listening to a guy the other day, and he said he graduated in 2002, and he's one of the largest YouTube influencers. Yeah. And he said, I couldn't have said in high school that I wanted to be a travel vlogger and YouTube influencer when I graduated, because YouTube wasn't even invented to 2004. So, we live in a world that's so dynamic, and there are so many requirements, from legal requirements to be in compliance, so many social requirements from our family, our community, expectations. Oftentimes, when we become stressed out and full of anxiety, and say, hey, I need my room, my space, it's really a cry for self-care, and people become greedy rather than, integrated, saying, let me, look at, how am I caring for myself? I care for others. If you're a parent, you're caring for your children, you're juggling finances, work, but, on a deeper sense is, so to me, self-care is really about beyond self-preservation, but looking at the things and making sure your priorities are supporting the things that actually support your life, whether it be your organism through exercise and nutrition, or whether it be your community or the things that truly matter and make you happy, supporting those things so that they will support you. So it's really priorities, I guess. That would be in a nutshell.
And so in the sense, basically what you're saying, self-care is totally different than self-preservation.
Yes.
Preservation is food, clothing, and shelter. The self-care deals with the soul.
Yes, you know, the word care, you know, if you do something with care, it means you're actually doing it with detail, with love, you know, with a certain, you know, my wife being a dentist, I'm very sensitive in the mouth. And you want a dentist to, you know, open your mouth with care, not pull it open like you're an alligator, you know, so to do things with thought and to be thoughtful, to be mindful, you know, of yourself, and to, you know, sometimes that means forgiving yourself, you know, self-forgiveness.
Wow, because the thing is, we would love on everybody else and we forget to love ourselves. We will, if we do, because it's hard to do. When we forgive other people, we don't forgive ourselves. We make mistakes. It could be small, like I forgot to take out the trash, and we just wear ourselves out for years. And so, what encouraged you to begin this journey of spiritual self-care?
You know, I had you know, I was pretty healthy as a child. And, you know, my family, we have a lot of athletes. You know, that wasn't really my thing, but I was athletic. I was into dance. Long story short, I woke up one day when I was 16 years old and my lungs collapsed. And I was diagnosed with acute asthma, you know, and for about 26 years, I'd been intubated on a ventilator 4 times. I was hospitalized over 40 times. I was on 14, 15 medications. But instead of taking self-care, what my attitude became, I said, if I could die any moment, I'm feeling great, and all of a sudden my lungs freeze up. I'm gonna live each day like the last. And so what that meant for me was, you know, that phrase they say, we can sleep next year, you know, work hard, you know, just grind. And so my mentality began like, I'm gonna try and get a whole lifetime into a day. So, you know, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. And finally I got to a point, you know, I was very driven, you know, in my field. I was a composer for professionally for 15 years. And, you know, I had composed music for the Chris Rock show, Dave Chappelle show. And, you know, there's always deadlines in entertainment, and that just became my life. And finally, you know, after I had, you know, a serious coma, I went into a coma for 4 days. Long story short, after I got out, I was like, I'm taking a trip to the beach. You know, so I went overseas. I went to Cuba. Long story short, I was introduced to a whole different way of living. And in that country, because it's communist, you know, there's good and bad in everything. And one thing is, in a communist country, no matter how hard you work, you're not gonna make any more money. So people, you know, knew how to relax and enjoy the finer things of life. At that point, I had no children. I was 33, and they were like, "You're 33, you don't have children? Ah, you must have TV. We don't have TV here." So, you know, through that contact, I was introduced into African spirituality. And, you know, I always knew we were spiritual, but I never knew we actually had an active, continuous priesthood. We had religions that were active, that, you know, are sustaining. And, you know, that whole idea just intrigued me. And it was really once I had children, you know, that I realized all the things before I tried to cram a lifetime into a day. But I realized that the things I want to achieve are actually multi-generational. And I need to live, you know, well into my 80s to see my life fulfilled, you know, especially with my youngest. Right now I'm 48. Right. And my daughter is 3 years old. So she'll graduate from high school when I'm 62 rather. I'll be 66 or 67 when she graduates from college. You know, if she follows in the footsteps of her mom, I'll be 71 before she will actually get her own job. So I was like, my whole mentality needs to totally shift into longevity. And there's the African phrase that says, the only thing worse than being sick is having a bad name. And so, you know, I said, let me slow down. Let me stop trying to move so fast where I'm just jumping over and skipping over things in life and not really being careful about life. So that's how I got into self-care.
And that having a name is better than silver or gold. Her name will be here longer than we are, you know, than you are. And that's why I tell you, names are important. And in the African tradition, African custom, we have to call it for what it is. We have to call that person by name. If it's difficult, we try to call the name. So I try to tell my students, some of them are from other places, and they just say, no, it's okay. Don't, you know. No, I say, it's not okay. We need to learn your name. Because I just was hoping to hear their name called. You know, when names were stripped, when their language was stripped, they was hoping to hear Iletunje or Lokoso or even just Bawani, something. Something. They didn't hear that. And so with this world of digital and always moving, but it seems like we're not going anywhere.
That's real.
Now, what is your biggest challenge right now? As a matter of fact, you are a priest, right?
Yes.
Okay. In what tradition? I'm sorry.
Yes. I'm an initiated priest in Orisha, Oya and Obatala, and also in traditional West African Vodun. I'm a Bokono Babalao, which is, you know, an integrated African healer.
Right. So dealing with this COVID, what is your biggest challenge? Because I see you have your setup, and please tell the people because I know some people may be listening on the podcast or whatever. He has a nice backdrop, you know, it looked like a spa. So how are you adapting? What is your biggest challenge right now in COVID?
You know, it's multi-pronged. One, when you look at COVID, our ancestors have been dealing with virus and diseases since the beginning of time.
Right.
And there are a network of healers and priests throughout Africa. But I'll give you, for instance, when Ebola broke out,
right,
you find the heartland of traditional culture right now in Africa, the least westernized when it comes to religion, language, medicine. There are 52 countries in Africa.
Right.
Only one has a traditional African religion as its state religion. None have an African language as the official language of business.
Wait a minute. Out of all these countries,
yes,
only one has its traditional religion as their religion as a state, and And you saying very few even speak the language?
They speak the language, but this is the thing. I give an example. If you look at China or all of Asia in 1945, coming out of World War II.
Right.
Every country in Asia was colonized except for one, which is Thailand. At that time, Africa, except for Ethiopia,
right,
was colonized. So we were in the same position. Right. Even the gross national product of China in 1977, Nigeria, Ghana had more doctors, engineers, so on and so forth.
Wow.
Now you look at today, what's the difference that happened there? There's not one country in Asia that has a Western language as its state language. They might, in Vietnam, they spoke French, but Vietnamese was the state language. So when a child goes, and there's less Vietnamese people in the world than there are Nigerians or Congolese. But if you're going to learn the laws, the language, when you go to school, imagine teaching your whole country is ESL or, right, or, French SL, as a second language. And so you are educationally behind, you are culturally behind because your way of seeing life is deeply tied to your language.
That's correct.
None of the countries in Asia have adopted a religion as Christianity, as their official religion. Right. Some have Islam, but that Islam was there since the 6th century. And so what you have in Africa is a loss of identity. But going to your question about COVID, right, in Benin, it is the one country that is standing, but you have some in Togo and in Ghana. And what happened, like, as soon as Ebola broke out, there was a message that was sent to all the traditional priests in that land. And even in Ghana, that's very westernized, 80% of all medical, medicine is administered by traditional priests and healers.
80%.
And so, so the message, we're like, look, we're not waiting for the Europeans to save us. We've been doing this before. And so they sent out information to prepare. It hit in Gambia, in Guinea, in Sierra Leone. It came to the Ivory Coast and it jumped all the way over Ghana, not one case. Yeah. Togo, not one case. Benin, not one case. And hit Nigeria, which right now is, a war between Christians and Muslims, North and South. But that area was preserved because the healer said, okay, there's things we need to do both spiritually and medicinally to prepare our people. And so when COVID broke out, likewise, the council of all the elders came together. In fact, there's a movie online on YouTube called Strong Medicine featuring Andrew Young, the former ambassador and mayor of New York. He went on a trip with one of our great healers and, just talking about, the African solution for this. Right. But the message came out about COVID said, look, a lot of people will say that this was man-made. Ignore that. They said, this is a response from the earth, from the environment, for man's disrespect for not only humanity, not only the earth, but the things that crawl, that slither, that fly, that are four-legged, all of the beings on the earth we have disrespected. And so we will see more of this. And so they gave us strict guidelines to follow. Now, dealing with COVID, if you look at Dahomey, it is a very well known, that's where you have in real life, the African Amazon, the only nation that had an all-female army. Right. What you saw in Black Panther, that's Dahomey, that's Benin, the modern day country of Benin. Gotcha. The first 5 kings 3 of them were killed with smallpox. And this was biological warfare. You know, we were playing biological warfare, you know, before Europeans invaded. So we knew about disease. And so with that, you know, saying that, they said, look, like the traditional greetings, like what they say, you know, Wakanda forever, that actually is a real greeting of the voodoo priest.
Wow.
We greet with our elbows, the kid and play dance where we touch feet.
I remember
that was so we didn't spread disease during time of disease, that we're not touching hands. You know, there's so much in our culture, our tradition. So they said it's time to go to you know, to protocols that have been established for thousands of years. And so the hardest part I find here, there's a couple of things. One, because of our unique history, that even, you know, us as Black people, African American people, even and in Africa, even when, you know, outsiders brought us something that seemed good, like let's say a loan to build a road, it generally never served us. It was actually to enslave us, let alone medicine. So with the Tuskegee experiment, you have a whole group of people who are not interested in a vaccine. There's another group of people who don't even believe it exists. And generally those are the healthy people in our community who've never experienced sickness on that type of scale, though we're dying more than anyone. So there's the educational piece, and then the economic realities of what this is doing to our community, the psychological, you know, aspects. So helping our people to learn to be proactive.
Gotcha.
Because, you know, herbs and traditional medicine is great when it's done preventative. You know, an ounce of cure is better than a pound of, you know, or prevention is better than a pound of cure.
Exactly.
But so that's the second aspect. We are a social people. And so it is hard because of our unique history dealing with that. There's actually medicine that can help a person who's diagnosed, you know, with COVID, and it's been proven effective. If you look in Benin, we have more people who die in a day than have died in the entire year since COVID's been here. If you look in Africa, it's the least affected place. But part of that, you know, is lifestyle. You know, we talk about our melanin being powerful, but there also, everything good has a bad. Because of a person like, you know, my skin tone and your skin tone, 70% of African Americans are vitamin D deficient. Because for a person with dark skin, you need at least 4 hours every day of direct sunlight on your arms and your legs, and preferably with your shirt off. We don't get that in America. Because most of us now, you know, we work inside. Even if you're a mechanic, you're working under a garage. And so, you know, oftentimes people wait to the last moment, and, you know, it's a lot of tragedy. So for me, it's just one, self-care, staying mentally fresh. You know, this past week, you know, as a priest, I help supplement and help those who are first responders in the medical field, and, you know, helping them deal with the depression and with the anxiety. And then, you know, in the spiritual community, helping those who help others not to get burnt out, you know, not to you know, lose their cool. Parents who might lose their cool on their children. So, you know, it's a difficult time, but at the same time, we've endured much worse.
So as a priest, you are spiritually trying to take care of others, especially first responders, as well as people in the community, those who are initiated, those who are not. Because sometimes we feel that it's only one group of people doing it for their group, but
right.
Sounds to me that you are trying to help as many people as you can. Or do you are you there personally, or you kind of call in, or what do you do?
Oh, okay, great. So what's happening now? A person can contact me, and we can do a consultation just like we're doing right now. It's a Zoom. I'll send them a Zoom link. We can do a consultation and look at, oftentimes, Western medicine is about symptoms and about erasing the symptom.
Right.
But that's like putting, the oil light in my car comes on and I get some electrical tape and say, I don't want to see that light.
Right.
I'm tired of you light. The gas light comes on. I'm tired of let me cut the wires to that beeping.
And then the engine light comes on.
Yeah, and then it's over. And so, when a person comes, we really look at 5 basic things. Our ancestors said there's 5 things that are essential to life and maintaining the balance of life. The first is, self-care, is your health itself, your organism. Because, if a child doesn't have food to eat, he's not going to be able to pay attention to the lesson plan. If you're in dis-ease or discomfort, life is not good.
Right.
Once you learn how to sustain yourself, the next thing is awo, which in Yoruba is a tonal language, as many African languages are, or J. Awo has multiple meanings. It literally means hand, but what it means is also money. Right. Your ability to use your hand to make the world the way you want to make it, to live where you want to live, to manifest your destiny. Right. And if you lack the power to create the life you want, you won't feel empowered. You will feel diminished. You will feel depressed. And so being able to sustain yourself both creatively to do what you came to create and do is the second essential of life, to feel like you have a purpose. The third is if, you have health and money, you need to share it. And so having good relationships, you want to have, and that's right. First you get the money, then you get, health, money, and, life, and a woman, or a mate, a spouse, so traditional religion is about, African spirituality is about African reality, not about African imagination, but reality. So you need health, you need money, and then you need, compatible people, spouse, to accent that. Then once you have that, is then children. Yeah. Whether you actually have physical children or not, it's really talking about, the word is ama in Yoruba or vi in Fongbe. And that really means the things you came to do that will outlive you, your legacy.
Pass it down.
Your children. And then the last one is, if you got those 4 things somewhat in balance, the 5th is there's going to be someone or something to set that balance off to destroy it. Enemies, problems. Gotcha. And so your ability, you could be feeling horrible, or you could be doing horrible, but be very, confident about the future. Or you could be doing pretty much great. And, life sucks, because you feel defeated. And so finding that balance and looking at, the core, the strength of a tree is not its leaves, exactly, but the roots that you never see. And so, really touching on the practical areas of life, but how your spirituality, which is just your way of thinking and organizing life, how what you really feel and think and your actions, how well those are in balance or out of balance.
Because I tell people our ancestors, they didn't just deal with physical, they dealt with spiritual. In a situation where it's as small as it is, I have a cold. Granny would say, "Who you cussed out?"
That's true.
They would. Something happened to cause you to be offset, and and like you were mentioning, some of our people who are spiritually grounded, they're saying that something is off here, COVID, or even other diseases like it or similar to it, whatever, because of how we are and how we treat other people. And so we have to be mindful of that, and we have to get back to that balance. We have to get back to treating people right, love your neighbor as yourself, and things, because like I hear Bob Marley singing it, that scripture, we wrestle not with flesh and blood.
That's real.
We focusing on, say, the white man or anybody or Zungu or whoever.
Yes,
it's not that person.
Blaming,
it's something that's not right. It may be, we're not talking about this anymore. We're talking about here. And so our ancestors had that, and they understood that, and I'm glad that there are men and women that are still holding on to those traditions. You see it played out in other places, but some of you guys, like you, Iletunje, and many others, are directly going to it. And the cool part is that it's not just you and the people that you're around. You're trying to bless whoever wants to be blessed, and that's good. And so my thing is, what is your message right now? What is your spiritual message of self-care to the people right now?
And this is tied to the mission of the Destiny Center. We have a building here in Dallas, and the message is this: it's about discovering, developing, and then delivering your unique gifts to the world.
Wait a minute. Discovering,
developing, and then delivering your unique ancestral promise, your ancestral potential to the world. Black excellence. But it comes first with discovering. There's a phrase called Bogbo Wanishe in Yoruba that we always use. And that means, Bogbo means all. Wa means to come. Ni she means everyone has come with a destiny, or say. Everyone has come to do work, to put in work. So that means that if everything exists, from the rock, from everything in the air, everything has a purpose that we see and that we don't see. Therefore, I have a purpose, and the discovery of the work that I have come to do is essential, because it's a contract. In African spirituality, there's an idea that the concept of God, or the creator, is really all things and everything that is in existence right now, that was in existence before and will ever exist, all at once. That, if I'm just a cell in the fingernail, all I know is that I'm a cell in the fingernail. But, if I'm a part of an organ, the organ says there's something bigger, and there's a larger organism. So we all are our ancestors, you'll see in art galleries, beautifully painted calabashes. And that represents the universe and God. And if you take, you take a calabash and crash it on the ground and break it into, millions and billions of pieces, that's us. We're all just little pieces of that giant calabash. But each piece, like a puzzle, I can't be a part of a giant jigsaw puzzle made of trillions and billions of cells or entities in the universe and say, I alone am important. No, every piece makes up the giant puzzle. If you put it all together, then you see God. So if I'm out of balance, if I'm out of harmony with the larger picture, I will feel dis-ease. And so we all have come to work. And so therefore, discovering what it is that I have come to do, developing those ancestral gifts and talents, what we call the ancestral promise, and then not just keeping it to yourself, but to deliver, because in European philosophy, the foundational idea is, I think, therefore I am. And that's a great idea, but the African sense is Ubuntu.
That's right.
I am because you are, not because I think, no, because you are, I can see the reflection of myself. And if my presence makes you uncomfortable or unhappy, then, I can look at our relationship to examine myself. And so to deliver the contract that we made before coming into the physical realm to what I'm supposed to be to the rest of the universe, my children, to my community. You and I, when I first met you, I was like, we were standing next to each other on the side of the stage, and just after 2 minutes, I was like, this is my brother. I know him. Like, we were supposed to meet today. Who you are to me. You inspired me as a middle school teacher. I think social studies at the time.
Yeah, it was high school. Yeah, it was high school. Yeah.
Yeah, high school. Yeah. Just like your energy, young. I mean, that gave me a bump that day. I'm feeling good. Like seeing, there's people out there doing the work. Cause I had two black male teachers, my black teachers, my whole high school, all elementary, junior high, and high school. So to see you and your consciousness, that's the blessing to me. And you bless all the people you touch. And if there's a verse that says, if one head is good, it will bless 200 others.
Wow.
My head is good and it blesses you. Your head is good and it blesses me. The head of our Creator is glorious and it blesses the entire universe. If one head is good, it will have an impact and bless 200 others in the community. And so, really the self-care of discovering yourself, your uniqueness, developing it and delivering it. That's really, that's the message, I would say.
That's what's up. Before we go, because we can talk all day long about this. We talked about the challenges of COVID. We even talked about how could we overcome it by developing ourselves and taking care of ourselves, preventative. How can the people reach you? What websites or platforms can they reach you at if they need a little bit of spiritual help and guidance?
Okay, great. I'll give my phone number. And I'll give you my email address. Generally, the people that, come to me is through referrals. Someone will, it could be a athlete and they say, oh man, this guy helped me. We were blah, 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 or, a housewife, and they refer. And so generally I do that that way.
Okay.
So my phone number is 469-435-2126. Please don't misuse it. But I'm giving it to people because it's about transparency.
Yeah.
So hey, because if you wanted it, you could Google it. So I'm giving it to you. You have been invited.
And what about there I know it's because was there a center or a place that
Yes. It is called the Welidodo Destiny Center, and you can go to the internationaldestinycenter.com or Your Destiny Center. Right now, the website is still in development, but we're located here in Dallas. Right now, we're not having any services in public, out of respect. But we will be resuming as soon as, everything is clear. But you can definitely contact contact me now. And I would say this: if you're interested in learning, African spirituality is not the same thing as religion, because you can be a Christian, you can be a Muslim, you can be, whatever you choose to be, because all paths lead to God. Spirituality is really about understanding and how you see your relationship with the rest of the cosmos.
Right.
And so, I invite, people of all faiths,
Well,
yeah.
This is not going to be the last time. I thank you, Baba, for being here.
Hey.
And, and I thank you for us reuniting, reconnecting. And this won't be the last time. I know we have some other people we want to bring.
Yes.
This is going to be good. So
yeah, right on.
I can't wait. So I thank you again for being here, and thank you for sharing. And once again, my name is King Cam, and this is Njumbe's podcast. Njumbe means message, and today's message is spiritual self-care. Thank you, Baba Iletunje. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. Peace.
All right. Peace.